So hello again, and today this is the last part of the Enfield India history, the part 3, and basically in this part I will be discussing about the commercial vehicle segment as well as the stationary engines what Enfield used to make back in the day. So as I said, we will be covering up mopeds and scooters from Enfield India Limited, the Enfield 200, the 200cc two-stroke motorcycle which was against the SD 250 series of two-stroke motorcycles, or the Java 250 series of motorcycles. The Zundap motorcycles, which were German motorcycles and were bought by Enfield back in the late 80s, and some of its commercial vehicle segment we will be discussing about. So this is called the Enfield Fantabulous. This scooter has been designed and built in India. Unlike Lambretta or Vespa scooters, as we all know, they were Italian scooters and they were once brought to India first as a completely built up unit, then they were subsidized in India and they were built in Indian factories. But so far as Enfield Fantabulous is concerned, it has no such kind of history, but so far as its functionality and the features were concerned, these things are of different breed. And in most of the cases I would definitely say that this is the very first scooter having battery in it as well as a whole 12-volt electric system, along with something called Dynastart, or an alternator which acts like an electric starter to start the engine. Back in the day, this scooter was priced around from 4,000 rupees to 7,000 rupees. And to put that thing in perspective, I can say that by adding up today's inflation and all that, if this scooter was supposed to build today, it will definitely cost from 90,000 rupees to 1.2 lakhs or 1.3 lakhs of rupees. Fantabulous. These engines were detuned to 175cc with 3-port induction system and with amyl carburation fuel circuitry system were involved in order to bring this engine up. It has the first in segment turn signals, unlike any other vehicles at that point of time. Even Enfield Bullet didn't have a turn signal with it, and this was the very first two-wheeler in India to have a turn signal indicator system, because I think back in the 70s none of the two-wheeler motorcycle or scooter, whatever you say, they didn't came with indicators. And as I already that it had a 10 ampere hour battery which will be powering up your alternator to start the engine, and once the engine gets started, it automatically acts like an alternator and charges the battery. Here I want to put up my mistake. Basically what I was talking about, the alternator, is not actually an alternator, it's basically called a generator. The difference between alternator and generator, as we all know, that generator, if you say, it is like it is producing the direct current instead of alternator which produces alternating current, and you need a rectifier circuit to convert the AC current into DC current. So basically in this scooter it houses a generator which produces 12-volt DC and it feeds up to the battery, and hence it becomes easier for the whole electric circuitry of the scooter to feed up the battery voltage directly to the generator. The generator will turn, engine will start, and afterwards the generator will produce 12-volt electric DC to charge the batteries. Let's come to the moped. Now the picture, as you can see, is called an Enfield Mofa. This Enfield Mofa had a 27cc two-stroke engine, a twin-port engine, and I have no idea about what sort of carburetor it used, but so far as the venturi diameter is concerned, it was perhaps from 9 to 10 mm of venturi carburetor. And the frame which you are observing here, especially from the cone set to the backbone of the whole moped, is basically the fuel tank. You may say it is an integrated fuel tank in the chassis, and the fuel tank capacity is around 2 to 2.5 liters. It had a smaller generator which will be producing electricity to run your headlamps and the tail lamps, and there is a very small battery, excuse me, there had been a very small horn or a buzzer, as we can say, which for obvious reason you need to signal that whenever you are going down the street. uh, as I have said that the Enfield mover is actually a direct successor of an Piaggio product, so it is not wholeheartedly an Enfield product. It's not been designed by the Enfield whatsoever. It's a Piaggio product, by the way. So as this product was put it against the Luna TFR from the Kinetic in order to take up the market to the whole new level, but the performance of Enfield Mofa was of no match when compared to that of the Kinetic Luna. So in order to overcome that defeat, Enfield produced the Zundap Silver Plus. Yes, Zundap. You may not see the Zundap logo over this particular moped, or so to say, it is a motorcycle because it has no pedals to start the particular moped here I am observing here. This particular moped has a 50cc 3-port engine which was able to produce around 4.5 brake horsepower, zero point 0.5 more than that of Luna TFR, and in many cases this moped made a good statement so far as performance and power is concerned. But due to lower after sales service and lack of parts and other things, these mopeds didn't took up in the Indian market, unlike the Kinetic Luna. So it saw a very gradual and a very quick demise. This particular moped was launched in 1982. No, not 1982, I believe 1984, and it lasted till 1986. So it didn't last that much, unlike Kinetic Luna. So, as I said, we will be talking about the German Zundap motorcycles, which was brought by Enfield back in 1981. Zundap basically is a German motorcycle brand, just like Puch, the Puch spelling Puch. Uh, that motorcycle brand, which was in previous generation, as we can see, if you have ever heard of Hero Puch, the moped or the smaller motorcycle with two-speed gearbox system with a 70cc two-stroke engine. So that is basically a German motorcycle brand acquired by Hero back in the day and was called as Hero Puch, and it was also exported to SAARC countries as well as to South African and South American countries. So this particular motorcycle brand has a similar story. Zundap was a German brand motorcycle. It was established back in 1858 or something, and these were some of the very last Zundap products available in the overseas market. So after buying all the rights of Zundap brand products like Explorer, it was a 50cc motorcycle, 4-speed gearbox, 4 multiplate clutch. The horsepower was around 7.5 to 8.5 brake horsepower, and just like Yamaha or Suzuki motorcycles, it also had a reed valve system for better efficiency in grabbing up the richer mixture from the carburetor and to give the outperforming performance unlike any other motorcycle. So basically, this 50cc Explorer is the answer of not getting a moped instead of getting a real motorcycle. But to put things into real, this is called the Enfield Fury or the Zundap KX175. This particular motorcycle was nailed against the unraveling rise of Yamaha RX135 or RX100 or Suzuki's AX100R Supra and all those Japanese motorcycles. This particular motorcycle was created against the Yamaha or Suzuki counterparts, and generally these motorcycles were coming up with 175cc engine with 5 port induction system, and in some cases the torque induction system, just like Yamaha motorcycles, were coming up in these products. Same 6 port torque induction system, as well as it had also a reed valve with Mikuni 26 mm venturi diameter carburetor, and was able to produce around 16 brake horsepower. So back in the day it was a real deal bike, but due to poor sales service and all that, the motorcycle's engine was a bit complicated in comparison to the other Enfield products, as you can understand. The two-stroke engines of these German motorcycles were very much sophisticated, just like newer Yamahas or Suzukis were coming in the market by the time. It had also an automatic lubrication system to eliminate the oil starvation problem these two-stroke engine face whenever they descend from the hill. Say for an example, if you're ascending a hill, it's not a problem because your engine has got the RPM with which the amount of 2T oil which is required to lubricate the engine, it suffices the thorough need of that. But whenever the two-stroke engine descends from a hill, your engine RPM goes very low, but at the same point of time the motorcycle is rolling down the hill. So with that point your throttle is off and your engine is running high. So what happens is the correct amount of mixture which is needed to lubricate your engine doesn't comes up from the carburetor, as your carburetor throttle is in off position. So with that respect, your piston and your bore get seized up, because after all you are not getting the 2T oil to lubricate your engine sufficiently. So for that reason, automatic lubrication systems were involved with these two-stroke engines, so that the problem of oil starvation for the two-stroke engine whenever they are descending down the hill will be eliminated. And yeah, that was about the technology. As I said, the answer to the yes, these was the Enfield 200. This is again the same Villiers 200cc 5-port two-stroke engine, which was producing around 12 or 13 brake horsepower. It had a unit construction engine just like what we are witnessing today in newer or in modern bullet motorcycles or Enfield motorcycles. But just like the Albion gearbox, the teeth design, the splines, the lace shafts, the transmission shafts, the gear shift pattern, the gear shift lever itself is everything reminiscent to that of the Albion gearbox counterpart, which you used to get in 4-stroke motorcycles or Enfield Bullet 350cc or 500cc motorcycles. But again, it didn't witness a neutral finder lever, unlike the 4-stroke counterparts. So basically this was positioned against the rising fury of ESD or idle Java motorcycles like the Road King 250 or the Oil King 250 or the classic D250 and all that. So far as commercial products were concerned, due to rise of popularity of Piaggio Ape back in the day, or we call it as Bajaj FE 2-stroke. Basically, if you have ever seen those 2-stroke auto rickshaws, with the very first 2-stroke auto rickshaws which were chain driven, the engine used to be there underneath the seat of driver, and in either side of the auto rickshaw you have your chain drives encased to the rear wheels, which will be driving the rear wheels through the chain, and the auto rickshaw moves. You must have seen. If you haven't seen, do search in Google, it is available. So